I told Carter what had happened in St. Petersburg after he got poisoned, how I'd given up Set's name in exchange for the locations of the last scroll, some place called Bahayara. I described my vision of Anubis and Waltz, my chat with Jazz's spirit, and my trip back in time to Ra's sun barge. The only thing I held back, what Set had said about Zia's village being named Al-Hamar Makan. And yes, I know I was wrong, but I'd just been inside Carter's head. I now understood how important Zia was to him. I knew how badly any information about her would rattle him. Carter sat in his lounge chair and listened intently. His color had returned to normal. His eyes were clear and alert. It was hard to believe he'd been on death's door only hours before. I wanted to credit my healing powers, but I had a feeling his recovery had just as much to do with rest, several ginger ales, and a room service cheeseburger with chips. Bahayara. He looked at Bess. I know that name. Why do I know that name? Bess scratched his beard. He'd been glum and silent since I had recounted our conversation with Set. The name Bahayara seemed especially to bother him. It's an oasis, he said, way out in the desert. The mummies buried there were a secret until 1996. Then some fool donkey put its leg through a hole in the ground and broke off the top of a tomb. Right! Carter beamed at me. That G history is cool light in his eyes, so I knew he must be feeling better. It's called the Valley of the Golden Mummies. I like gold, I said. Mummies, not so much. Oh, you haven't met enough mummies, Bess said. I couldn't tell if he was joking, and I decided not to ask. So the last scroll is hidden there? Bess shrugged. It would make sense. The oasis is out of our way. Wasn't found until recently. There were also powerful curses in place to prevent portal travel. The mortal archaeologists have excavated some of the tombs, but there's still a huge network of tunnels and chambers no one's opened in thousands of years. Lots of mummies. I imagined horror film mummies, with their arms out and their linen wraps coming undone, groaning as they chased screaming starlets and startled archaeologists. When you say lots of mummies, I ventured, how many is lots? They've uncovered a few hundred, Beth said. Oh, maybe 10,000. 10,000? I looked at Carter, who didn't seem bothered by this at all. Sadie, he said, it's not like they're going to come to life and kill you. No, Bess agreed. Probably not. Almost for sure not. Thanks, I muttered. I feel much better. Yes, I know what I said earlier about dead people and cemeteries not bothering me, but 10,000 mummies, that was pushing it. Anyway, Beth said, most of the mummies are from Roman times. They're not even properly Egyptian. Bunch of Latin wannabes trying to get into our afterlife because it's cooler. But some of the older tombs, well, we'll just have to see. With 2 parts of the Book of Ra, you should be able to track down the 3rd part once you get close enough. How exactly? I asked. Beth shrugged. When magic items get broken up, the pieces are like magnets. The closer they get, the more they attract each other. That didn't necessarily make me feel better. I imagined myself running through a tunnel with flaming scrolls stuck to both hands. Right, I said. So all we have to do is creep through a network of tombs past 10,000 golden mummies, who probably almost for sure wouldn't come to life and kill us. Yeah, Beth said. Well, they're not really solid gold. Most of them are just painted with gold. But, yeah. That makes a huge difference. Then it's decided. Carter sounded positively thrilled. We can leave in the morning. How far is it? A little over 200 miles, Beth said, but the roads are iffy. And portals, well, like I said, the oasis is cursed against them. And even if it wasn't, we're back in the first gnome. It would be wise to use as little magic as possible. If you're discovered in Des Jardin's home territory. He didn't need to finish that sentence. I gazed at the skyline of Alexandria, curving along the shoreline of the glittering Mediterranean. I tried to picture it as it might have been in ancient times, before Cleopatra, Egypt's final pharaoh, chose the wrong side in a Roman civil war and lost her life and her kingdom.